it shouldn't come from the frozen foods section. It shouldn't be something totally improvised, like a half a baguette, and it shouldn't come out of a Pillsbury tube either. I know what's holding you back from having the best pizza of your life, and I'm going to solve it today because it's part of breaking the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, what do you know? It worked. Oh, if you were with us last night. But anyway, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. The free public weekly show for the methods, the techniques, the insights into better food and cooking. We get together because we're all carefree cooks. I create my own recipes. I bring friends and family together when I do. I learn every time I cook. I create my own cooking style because I practice pro methods and I love my cooking. People keep asking me, how do I get alerted when you're going to be live? You pop on, you do calzone, you do all kinds of stuff. Well, if you want to sign up for a private email reminder of when I'm going live, go to webcookingclasses.com/live. And here's this week's schedule as well. It's a busy one. Tuesday at noon, Carefree Cooks Code, just like here and now. Deja vu in advance, huh? Tomorrow at 3 p.m. is another Inside View class for our Carefree Cooks Insiders community. It's so much fun. It's the third in our seafood series. And 5 o'clock is when our Insiders virtual social and wine tasting event is going to be on Zoom. We'll send you those links if you're an insider. So we're having so much fun. Oh, let's do a true or false today, okay? Tell me in the comments section below, true or false, pizza was invented in China. Right? You ever hear the story about Marco Polo brought pizza and pasta from Italy, from China to Italy? True or false in the comments section below. Was Marco Polo involved in any of this? Marco, what? Polo, huh? Ooh, I was a lifeguard. It drives you crazy. Look, in this day and age when a pizza can arrive at your door in less than an hour, they used to say 30 minutes, they've given up on that. You could just click for a pizza and it can be there. It's the easiest food to have delivered and it's the easiest food to compromise on. Because it's so convenient, you can give up other aspects of really enjoying a good pizza, okay? So like any takeout, any delivery, any grab and go or microwavable food, the convenience is the benefit. Not the quality is the benefit. I think everyone would agree with me when you call for takeout or take something out of the freezer, it's not because that's the best version of it that there is. It's because it's easy. It's convenient. But what I want to talk about today is turning that trade around a little bit. Let's trade some of that convenience to get a little bit more quality in our pizza. Let's eat something that you're actually excited about, not just because I got to eat something, okay? So look, we could debate all day long about what the most important part of a great pizza is. You might say the sauce is most important. Somebody might say the cheese, the seasonings. All may be true, but I think the pizza crust is the thing that makes a great pizza really special. You can't do without it. I mean, physically, you imagine just sauce and cheese on the bottom of the oven. No, you've got to have that underlying layer, but I mean, it's the foundation even more than the fact that it's the foundation, all right? So the problem is people think making a pizza crust is so incredibly hard and complicated. Making bread is so incredibly hard. Yeast intimidates the heck out of people. But making your own pizza crust is really a simple process once you know the 10-step yeast dough formula. I just threw it together, not a half hour ago. I was like, I got some time. Let me put some more pizza crusts in the freezer for another time. So once you do this, Once you get sensitive with it and you start to enjoy it as much as I do, then you're going to be addicted to making your own breads and crusts and playing with it, and you will never pay someone else to bring you a pizza again. So let's go over it. This is the key to making a great pizza crust. I teach this in my courses, in web cooking classes, in Pizza Pasta Proud. We go over this in depth, all right? So let's get the magic green board out and go through the 10 steps in the yeast dough production process, because they're really very, very simple. You can duplicate them, and once you know what to look for, you'll be doing this all day long, right? So the 10-step yeast dough method goes like this. First, we call it scaling. Scale all your ingredients. We don't say measure, we don't say scoop, we say scale, because most items should be weighed on a scale, should be done by weight, because that adds consistency. It is less consistent to scoop something and look at a convex bit of water or flour than it is to put it on a scale. You can duplicate it next time. The easiest thing to remember is my 18, 10, and 2 formula. It's 18 ounces of flour, 10 ounces of water, 2 teaspoons of yeast. We give it 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of sugar as well to charge up the yeast. So you get those ingredients together. They are scaled on a weight scale or in small measuring spoons, because we're not talking about the atomic weight of yeast here. You put a pinch of salt and sugar too, like I said. Second step, mixing and kneading. So all these ingredients that you just put in the bowl, plus any adjuncts, because we talk about tenderizers, add olive oil to it, it becomes a little more tender. I put yogurt in my non-dough formula. I don't want to spill the secrets, all right? So mixing and kneading, got to mix this up. And the first time you mix it up, it's one ball of something, but man, it's very, very rough. You can pull it apart easily. It's very crumbly, wet in spots, dry in other spots, so it's got to be kneaded. And if you have an electric mixer, this makes this a lot easier. The dough hook runs it around. I do mine for 30 minutes. When I first learned to do this in culinary school, and this is, geez, I'm coming up on 30 years, I guess. But every time I learned something in culinary school, I would come home and make it for Heather. And for the longest time, we had a loaf of bread per night. And, that's not a sustainable diet, but I was doing it by hand, getting my heels into the dough, folding it over. It can be done by hand. It's a good shoulder arm workout for sure, but you don't need a mixer. But a mixer, you just flip the switch and then you could go do something else. But the kneading, what the kneading does is develop the necessary gluten. Gluten is not inherent in flour. This is a misunderstanding. If you ate a tablespoon of flour, you don't have gluten. Gluten is developed through moisture and agitation. So as you're kneading that dough, it's getting stretchier, it's getting smoother, it's getting tighter, it's getting softer. It feels really, really good. So my dough is kneaded for 30 minutes to develop that gluten, a spot that a lot of people miss because they just kind of mix it up and I got dough. Next thing that we want to do is make sure that you're fermenting the dough. If you want nice little holes, if you want a nice grain in your dough, that's the work of the yeast. So now the yeast is absorbing the sugars, expelling carbon dioxide, and creating holes in your dough. You've got to let it rise, double in size, knock the air out. Let it rise again, double in size, knock the air out. You could do that 2 or 3 times. You can't do it indefinitely because at some point the yeast eats all the sugar. So the next thing we're going to do, like I said, is punch it down. You can see I scrape it around the bowl. I round it again. Next thing is portioning. Out of my non-dough formula, I get 3 pizza crusts. So is it going to turn into one long baguette? Are you going to put things in a loaf pan? They're going to become loaves. Are they individual dinner rolls that you're weighing the exact weight of each so that they bake consistently as well? This is when we start to portion your items out. I wind up with 3 pizza doughs. Then they're rounded. And this is an interesting step, and this is actually the most fun for me. It's the most tactile step of it. It's almost like doing pottery. You ever see somebody on a pottery wheel? Like the scene from Ghost? And they got their hands on the pottery. All right, it's not that sexy really, but you take the dough and you round it. And what you're doing is trying to make a tight skin on the dough. So as that rise comes, if your dough is very rough and you're going through fermenting, you're going to round the dough after portioning and set it in its individual portion that way. Next thing is shaping the dough. Are we rolling it out for a pizza? Are we braiding it for a challah bread? What's the form it's going to take? Step number 8 is proofing, and proof is the bottom line for everyone, because proofing is now letting that yeast get its last meal before it's going to meet the heat, expel more carbon dioxide, and puff up your bread in the shape of what it is. So it's a baguette, it's a dinner roll, it's a pretzel, it's a sticky bun, whatever yeast dough product. In a pizza, you can choose to skip this altogether, because once you shape it and roll it out into a dough, you can throw it in the oven and you'll get a little bit more of a cracker crust. If you proof a pizza dough, you'll get a little bit more of a bready crust. Next is baking. Throw it in the oven. And a yeast dough product usually gets a very high temperature, because what you're looking for is something called oven spring. Oven spring is the last dying gasp of the yeast. When they get to the temperature above 140 degrees Fahrenheit that kills them, they let out this gasp, and you get these bubbles on your pizza, right, at a nice high temperature as well. So when you bake yeast dough products, they're usually at a higher temperature, especially our pizza, and especially if you're looking for a cracker crust on the bottom. So if you're making your pizza, you would have done proofing if you wanted. If this was an 11-step pizza method, I would have said proofing, topping, putting all your sauce and whatever else, then baking, then comes cooling, eating, enjoying, rubbing your belly, patting your back on what a great job you did. I didn't put all of those steps. You don't have to pat your back. You don't have to rub your belly. But you'll be very proud of yourself, because you have a 10-step process now to make any kind of yeast dough. And it's not immediately apparent, okay? It's not a magic trick that you can just do. But go through the 10 steps, look at what you got. As always, the path to learning is, what did I do well? What could I do better? And next time I will. All right, so if you do that 2 or 3 times, at most, you'll have it. Trust me, you'll have it. So once you scale all your ingredients precisely, once you mix and knead that dough so it's a smooth, round dough, you let it ferment, you punch it down, you put it into the portions that you're going to eventually bake off. You're rounding that, let it rest a little bit, especially if you're going to roll it with a pin, shaping, proofing, baking, cooling, and then the rubbing your belly and patting your back thing. But hey, here's a question that's asked of me very often. How do you roll out that pizza, how do you get it off your board and like into the oven? The best way to get a pizza onto your pizza peel, so you roll it out. I've got my nice white marble slab, and then you roll it up on the rolling pin, okay? So you start at the edge, you pull it back, and it rolls around the rolling pin. Set it on your pizza peel that's been cornmealed, and then just push it back out. It's the easiest, quickest way to move your pizza from board to peel. So it's a quick lesson today that it's going to change your world once you start making your own breads. Many years ago, I used to bake breads for new neighbors in our apartment building or things. It's a very impressive thing to do. So once you start making your own pizza dough, then you can be the Marco Polo explorer. You know, just think of all the different pizzas that you can make that can't be bought. Okay, so even if you're going for the convenience factor, you say, hey, I like to buy my pizzas. Well, you're limiting your variety now. I mean, I don't know I make a bacon and clam pizza, and sometimes I take the bacon off and I do smoked peppers and clam. I don't think I can buy that in the freezer section. The clams would be terrible. You know, I use the best ingredients, the freshest ingredients. You start messing with your pizza dough, put dry oregano and basil into the dough. Okay, so in with the flour and stuff, and you get an herbed crust. Put Parmesan cheese, a little drier cheese, right into that mix. Make it a spicy dough if you want. Put some hot peppers. Make it a sweeter dough with a little bit of sugar. You can make it chewy. You can make it tender with the adjuncts that you add from there. It becomes entirely up to you. Follow the 10 steps at first. Get your basic lean dough, 18, 10, and 2 formula. Then you can start putting olive oil in it. Then you can search for other formulas and starting to get really creative with it. That's what's holding you back from the best pizza that you ever have. So now that I've launched the Pizza Pasta Proud course, let me show you some of the pizzas that are being created in our community, because it's really crazy. People are going pizza nuts on this. And the reason that this has been so successful is it's an aha moment for a lot of people. It is not a high-level chef thing. It is really a very simple thing that people have been doing for hundreds of years, but we've gotten away from. And the idea that you can make your own pizzas, rolls, crusts, sweet dough, things like that, it's not hard, not complicated. It doesn't take all day. And actually, the time you spend doing it is quite enjoyable. So let's look into the masterpieces going on in our Carefree Cooks community and our Carefree Insiders community. Catherine decided to use my rich non-dough formula that I've been talking about, topped it with bechamel sauce. Good word, Catherine. If you need to look that up, you're not a student of web cooking classes, I guess, but bechamel sauce, your basic white sauce. Artichokes and pork. Nice combination. I like that. How about Tommy's pepperoni pie? People always comment like, oh, I forgot to take a picture, so there were 2 slices left. Tony likes a pepperoni pie. He's making his own now. That looks really nice, thick, deep dish almost. Jeff said he made his very first white pizza. I love when people report back very first, because in Pizza Pasta Proud, I show you how to make a garlic cream sauce. So you put this garlic cream sauce instead of tomato on there, and it opens a whole new world of pizzas. It's incredible. Vicky said that she's used to buying pizza kits, and now she makes her own personal pan pizza. Awesome. Patricia is another one. She did a 4-cheese pizza with a ricotta base. I like that idea. Sounds like the calzone we did. And arugula on top. You can make these really healthy too and add some greens to it. Jerry did his crust with ricotta, tomato, green peppers, and sausage. And I mean, there's dozens more. I wish I had all the time in the world to just go through a slideshow of pizzas, because it would make you hungry and it would make you want to learn how to do your own crust. But all these pizzas and pasta popping up in our community. I am so proud of everyone who's taken this new course. They have found such quick results, immediate results, and they never need to wait for the delivery guy again. And that's why you become proud. You do your own pizza, you do your own pasta, you become quite proud. Let's get back to the true or false for today. So this is patently false, and I'll tell you why. There were noodles in Italy and China at the same time, around 1270, when Marco Polo traveled between the countries. And do you want to know who started this rumor? He did. In the book, it's got a long old world title, but the book that we now know as The Travels of Marco Polo, he said he did it. He said he invented that. He gave himself a credit for a lot of things. So let's stop telling children that Marco Polo invented pasta. I don't like it. Do you know somebody who loves pizza but isn't getting any love back from their delivered or frozen pizza? Well, you should like, love, or share this class with them so they can start making their own pizza dough, the most important part of the pizza. Oh, and it's only a week old. Like I said, I just released it last Tuesday, but my brand new Pizza Pasta Proud online course is changing kitchens all over the world. And when you go to pizzapastaproud.com/join-course, you can get started with the 2 pizza doughs that I demonstrate, the lean, no-fat 18, 10, and 2, and then the rich non-dough. We'll roll out sheets for ravioli using semolina flour. We do spaghetti, fettuccine. You get the 5 sauces that I use for pretty much all of my pizzas and pastas. I only need 5, and you get a bunch of bonus videos on making pasta dishes as well. Don't want to forget either, you get the really cool Pizza Pasta Proud t-shirt when you join the course as well. So get started at pizzapastaproud.com/join-course. And until next Tuesday, when we take even more steps toward cracking the Carefree Cooks Code, this is Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a 10-step method to your pizza crust success.